That's a big fish.
Hi, my name is Graham. I've been making crankbaits for about 15 years, and that fish coming out of the water right there is a steelhead that we hooked while back trolling in the river. And in this particular section of the river, the current moves very fast. So fast, in fact, that I couldn't find a bait at the store that would work in this current, so I went ahead and started making my own. And I've designed a lure here that works great in fast current for steelhead fishing. And I'm going to show you how to make that. And I need to make one because in about 2 seconds here, that fish that's in the air is going to break the line and I'm going to need another one.
I got it on the video camera. So now we'll take a little closer look at the lures that I was fishing with and catching the steelhead on. You can again see that it's very streamlined here. I'm actually going to go through and show you how I make this thing so that maybe you want to try it yourself. You can give it a shot. Originally when I started making these lures, I made them out of wood. But after a while you get tired of sanding and sealing and all of that stuff. So when you get a good design, then what you want to do is you want to start casting these things. And so I cast this out of a 2-part epoxy. And to make it float, I use micro balloons. And so what I've got here in my little cup is micro balloons. This comes in a jar like that. And the 2-part epoxy. I'm using a white. Here, when this thing hardens, it's going to be white, and the reason I use white is because it seems like a nice base layer for the lures. If you're going to try to paint something fluorescent like you do with steelhead plugs, it's nice to have a white base. I don't have to worry about painting it white then and then covering it up with something else. Okay, so I've got my micro balloons here in my jar, and so I'm going to add these 2 parts of epoxy, and the way that I do that is with a syringe so that I get an accurate measurement. When you're talking about lures, you're talking about a very small amount of epoxy, so I just got a couple syringes here. So I add the 2 parts and stir that up. I'll pour it into my mold, and I made this mold out of one of my wooden plugs that I have been using in catching fish. I've been doing this a little bit, so I know exactly how much resin to mix up here to fill my mold. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. Let that harden. Probably take about 5 minutes to harden. While that's hardening, I want to cut the lip out, and so just making the lip out of sheet aluminum for this particular plug. Looks like I'm using 0.025 thickness of aluminum. It's a little thinner than what I would normally use, but I'm trying to get these baits to float nicely so that, you know, as you're back trolling and you get a plug in some still water or something like that, you want that to float right up to the top so you're not hanging it up on the bottom. So anytime I make a lip, I make a template for the lip, because the lip has the most effect on the way the plug is going to swim. And you can see that I've got 2 templates I've made out of paper here. This one that I'm holding in my hand here I made in hopes that this is going to make it a good walleye bait. It's not going to have nearly as much vibration. It's going to have a much tighter wiggle with this lip. Going to dive deeper as well. And then this is the one that I'm using for the steelhead. It's going to have a little wider wobble, not dive quite as deep, because most of the time when I'm plug fishing I fish a little bit shallower water for steelhead. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay this lip down on my aluminum, and I'm going to trace around it with a pencil, and then I'll drill out the holes. See the holes in the center? I'll drill those out and cut around that to make my lip out of aluminum. So I got to be really accurate with the hole placement here, so I went ahead and scored these with a punch so that I get the holes right in the right spot. So now I'll drill those out before I cut the lure out. It's a little easier, got something to hold on to. Okay, my hole's drilled there. Now I'll just go ahead and take some tin snips and cut this out. So now I've sanded my lip. You can also see that I've put a dual lock swivel in through the holes there, and that's going to be the pull point of my lip. I could have used one of these as well. I've used those before. It's a little bit sturdier than the dual lock snap, but I've never had a dual lock snap fail on a steelhead, so I usually just use those. The other thing that I've done is I've bent the lip. I had a little hand seamer. I think I just got that from Harbor Freight, a little simple tool. Clamps down on there, and I bent the lip to angle it down a little bit. And so my lip is ready to go. Once my lure gets put together here, ready to put the lip on it. So I'll set that aside. So also notice that all the sides on my lure are flat, and that's intentional. If I leave flat sides on there, I can put prism tape on the lure, and prism tape comes in about every color under the sun, and then some that don't even exist. So you can get any kind of color, any kind of reflection. It's crazy how many things they offer prism tape in. So making flat sides now, I have an unlimited ability to change the colors and the flash of the lure that I'm creating. So I think flat sides are the way to go. I don't think the fish care one bit or another. I think that if you're manufacturing lures to sell them, then you might want to round the sides and make them all pretty and look like a fish. But in this case, you know, most of these strikes are instantaneous. The fish see the bait and decide to hit it in a split second. So I don't think they're going to care if it has rounded sides, but they will care a lot of times about the color and the flash on the lure. Okay, so now I've got my the casting is all dry there, so I've got my little lure body. While that was drying, I also cut out the prism tape that's going to go on it, and all I do is just take again just a cardboard template. Here's one for the top and the bottom, and here's a cardboard template for the sides. Just lay that on some prism tape, cut it out, and all I'm going to do is just stick the prism tape on the lure. Okay, so now it's really starting to take shape. Now I've definitely got a bait that's looking more like some fish is going to come along and want to eat it. And all I have to do is put the lip and the hook on. Okay, so now I've attached the lip and the hook, and now it's really starting to look like a lure. To attach the lip, those hole eyes drilled at the back end, all I did was use some screws. These are real small screws. You get them at a tackle supply. Any lure making supply place would have them. The screw eye here to hold the hook, same thing. Got that at one of the places that sells, you know, tackle making equipment. Only the single hook. Learned this from the guys out on the fish steelhead out on the west coast. You know, almost all the fish that I catch I release, and so having just one hook on there really saves a lot of wear and tear on these fish, because they're pretty they try pretty hard to get away, and if you got two hooks on there, they tear themselves all apart. So having just one hook on there is real nice. Put a swivel on that hook, so when they're spinning and things like that, the hook will just go ahead and rotate without any problems or any wear and tear on the bait or the fish. Kind of got back a little bit off the lure, so it kind of sits at the back end. These fish are going to hit the plug. I'm back trolling, so they're going to hit the plug from behind. And the way that I've designed the bait and placed the hook, sits just about like this. So that hook sits off the lure. It's sitting down just like that. And when those fish come up to hit it, that's right in the right spot for them to come and grab it. You know, I've seen guys before, if you're out back trolling and you're getting light hits or just bumps from salmon and steelhead, which happens. A lot of guys then decide that they need to really increase the number of hooks or the size of the hooks on their lure so that when they get a bump that they just catch the fish. But actually what that means is that your lure is good, but it's not quite right in the right zone there for them to eat it. You know, if they're just coming up and bumping it, that at the last minute they're deciding that's not something they want to eat. So if I get some bumps on a bait like this, I know that I got to tweak it, and I got to adjust the swimming action a little bit and get it dialed in to what they're looking for that day. So one last thing to do, the color scheme that I'm making here is a blue pirate. And so a blue pirate has this blue on the body, chrome and blue on the body, but it's got a red lip. And so nice thing about the aluminum lip, I want to make it red. So I need to make this red lip on there, so all I do is grab a red Sharpie pen, and we'll make that lip red. A lot of times I use Sharpie pens to accentuate and color different parts of the bait, but this one I'm going to leave it real kind of clean on the back side and just put a red lip on it to make this blue pirate. There we go. It's a blue pirate, custom made for some really fast water. So I'll take it out and see if I can't catch some fish on it.